And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Jordan Sanders. And Jordan Sanders writes, "Hey, John. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings has officially overtaken Black Widow to become the highest grossing film at the domestic box office of this year and during the pandemic. I absolutely love the film, but I didn't think that it would earn as much money as it did. What do you attribute the film's overwhelming success in spite of all the challenges it's faced? Are you surprised that it earned so much more than most people thought it would?" All right, thanks a lot for sending in this question, man. Now, look, I've been harping on Shang-Chi for a long time. Ever since I went to I was expecting the movie to be good because it's an MCU film, so it's going to be good. I wasn't expecting it to be great because, as we talked before, even Kevin Feige wasn't really talking a lot about it. Whenever Kevin Feige had a mic put in front of him, he seems to have been talking about Eternals. So it's like, all right, I'm sure it's going to be good. So I went to go see it, and I just could not believe how good it was. Rob, I'll tell you what. I was sitting beside our friend Greg Alba from Real Rejects. And when I say beside, they had 2 empty seats between all the people in the theaters because they were doing COVID protocols. But when the movie was over and the credits were rolling, like the mid-credit scene hadn't happened yet, I literally walked over to Greg and a couple of other people and I just said, "Is it just me or was that fucking awesome?" And they're all like, "No, it was effing awesome. It was awesome." I mean, we were all just like, what? And the trailer, the post-credit scenes hadn't even played yet. And then the post-credit scenes played and we all even got more excited. Then, of course, it came out, made fantastic money. And its opening weekend blew a lot of and my own expectations as well. It made $75 million in its opening weekend domestically, which made it second only behind Black Widow at the time. And then it had a very small second weekend drop, which was amazing. And then it had an even smaller third weekend drop. And now it's come in at number 1 again at the box office for a 4th weekend in a row. Now, why that 4th weekend in a row is significant is because that sets, or at least ties, it equals the mark of the longest streak for any MCU film to be number 1 at the box office. There's only 2 other MCU films, Rob, that have been number 1 at the box office for 4 weeks in a row. And that's Black Panther and Guardians of the Galaxy. That's it. And on top of that, as they pointed out in their email, this has now officially made Shang-Chi pass Black Widow at the domestic box office to be the number 1 film of the year domestically. And it got it really close to a number I said on this show, Rob, that I did not believe this movie could hit, which is $200 million at the domestic box office. I said I didn't. I mean, it's possible. I said it's possible, but if I'd have put $10 on it, no, I don't think the single will reach $200 million domestically. Well, guess what? Let's take a look at the top 6 films right now of the year for the U.S. box office, and this is interesting. So now we have Shang-Chi, which is now at $196.5 million. And it's making in double digits still in the millions. This thing is going to make another 3.5 million. It's going to hit 200 million at the box office. I said it wouldn't do it. It's about to do it. And it couldn't happen to a better film. Anyway, Black Widow now slides down into second place with 183 million. Fast 9 is in third with 172 million. Not Babylon 5. Quiet Place 2. Again, I am bonkers for the Quiet Place franchise. Love these films. Made 160 million domestically. Jungle Cruise made 114 million. And by the way, Free Guy, I should take a moment to mention this. Free Guy, in its 7th week of release, is still in the top 3 at the box office. It's at number 3 at the box office right now. It is made 114 million. It's going to pass Jungle Cruise for the number 5 spot of the year. A little film that I honestly didn't even think was going to be all that great. I mean, I was interested because I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan, but I didn't think it looked all that fantastic. I mean, I'm sure it was going to be good, but couldn't believe it's the little charming movie that could. It's now, by the way, Rob, Free Guy has passed 300 million at the box office worldwide. It just keeps chugging along. So congrats to them on that. But getting to the question, Rob, about why, why did this little film that it didn't even on the surface look like, Kevin Feige was super pumping up. A little film that the CEO of Disney, Bob Chapek, called an interesting little experiment. Although I understood he meant something else, but still, it wasn't a good look, that comment. This little film that, the marketing campaign wasn't great. It was okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Why did this film now become the number one domestic film of the year? Why does it continue to chug along? How does it win a fourth weekend in a row at the box office when a lot of new movies have come out? I think it just comes down to the quality of the film. People are going in, Rob, and watching this movie and being super entertained. They're coming back and they're bringing new people with them. Because, Rob, I'm not the only person out there who I've seen this film 7 times, all right? And every time I've gone to see it, I've seen it with new people. Every time I've seen it with people who haven't seen it yet. And other people are doing the same thing. Other people have gone to see it and going, oh my God, that was great. And then they come back, and not only do they come back, they're coming back and tell their other friends, hey, listen, you got to come with me. You got to come. You got to come watch this Shang-Chi movie. It's so much fun. And I think it's just that type of combination of charm, great characters, good humor, exciting action, and wonderful, rich mythology that we've not seen touched upon before in the MCU. I think all that has just added up to this thing having incredible legs. I mean, look, Rob, the reality is we still live in a pandemic. This thing is still going to end up with a box office number that when we look back on it in history, if we don't consider the pandemic, we're going to look at it, the final box office numbers compared to other MCU films and say, where did this one go wrong? I mean, so let's not be oblivious to that fact, but the fact is in this pandemic era, it has really blown everything else out of the water. Rob, when you look at this, number one, are you surprised that it's stayed at number one 4 weeks in a row, that it does look it's going to cross that $200 million mark? And what do you attribute its success to?
Well, I mean, from the very beginning, I was excited to see this movie because I was a fan of the character. I grew up reading the comics, Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. And I really couldn't wait to see the movie. Now, admittedly, the movie is different than the character was portrayed in the 70s, which is kind of a cross between martial arts and James Bond, Bruce Lee and James Bond. But this movie, John, after you raved about it, I'm like, is it that good? When you took me to see it, I was really surprised at how it embraced the traditions of the wuxia fantasy genre, the Chinese fantasy genre, and how enjoyable it was. I mean, this movie's wildly entertaining. And if you're open to this kind of fantastical film, I think it's a hugely rewarding movie. And that at its core, it really is about the conflict between a father and son. And sure, it's got friendship. It's got a portrayal of a different kind of relationship between Simu Liu and Awkwafina than we've ever seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. Everything about this movie I found to be delightful. And I think it was just a rousingly good time at the movies. And I think that's what we've been missing. That's what we wanted to see. And, there's a lot of people that have leveled, I think, unfair criticism at this movie because at the end of the day, were you entertained? I mean, the Maximus's question, were you not entertained? I was wildly entertained. When I went back and saw this movie in IMAX, I was even entertained even more. And I took Elizabeth to see it for the first time, and she loved it. And I think the movie has a great replayability. I think when I was in the theater, there was people there that I knew, and everybody was seeing it for a second or third time. And that's the reason. People wanted a shamelessly entertaining film that puts a smile on your face. It adds really interesting new wrinkles to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it just delivers the goods. It's exactly why we go see movies.
I agree. So, guys, the question is for you. And let's not lose sight of this. We touched on it at the beginning, but still, this is significant. This becomes the only third. Infinity War didn't do it. Endgame didn't do it. Now, of course, there are a lot of asterisks to put all over this. Obviously, there are. But still, when you sit back and look at it, Captain America Civil War didn't do it. This is only the third MCU film to actually hold the number one spot for 4 weeks in a row. Of course, joining Black Panther and Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think that's pretty significant for this little MCU film that could. Question is for you guys, what do you think about these milestones, the 4 weeks in a row, the hitting 200 million domestically, which it's about to do? Why is it holding on so well? What do you attribute the success to? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.